Hey guys, tonight we're going to trade the soft hum of city nights for the vast, hushed expanse of an ancient desert, a place where time stretches out like endless dunes and the secrets are carried on the whispering wind. You find yourself standing on warm, fine sand, the sun already dipping low, painting the sky in hues of burnt orange and deep violet. There's a profound silence here, broken only by the occasional distant call of a desert bird or the gentle shifting of the sand beneath your feet. You might think this quiet means nothing is happening, but out here, every grain of sand, every ripple in the dune, tells a story. And tonight, we're going to uncover one of the most remarkable. You probably won't survive a single night out here without a guide, let alone uncover ancient secrets. So count yourself lucky you're only listening. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let's ease into tonight's journey together. You are here, at the edge of the known world, where civilization gives way to the boundless golden ocean of sand. The air is dry, carrying the faint, sweet scent of distant frankincense and the mineral tang of sun-baked earth. Your gaze is drawn to a solitary figure, a nomad, his face weathered by countless suns, his eyes holding the wisdom of endless horizons. He is not alone. Beside him stands a magnificent creature, a dromedary camel, tall and imposing, its silhouette framed against the fiery sky. This camel isn't just a beast of burden. It is a lifeline, a living vessel adapted for a world that would swallow most other creatures whole. This mainstream historical fact about ancient desert travel is that camels, particularly dromedaries, were absolutely indispensable. Their ability to go long periods without water, to traverse shifting sands, and to carry heavy loads made them the ships of the desert, enabling trade, communication, and survival across vast, arid regions that would otherwise be impassable. Without them, large-scale desert journeys were simply impossible. The bond between this nomad, whom we shall call Malik, and his camel, whom we'll name Zahara, is palpable even from a distance. It's not merely ownership. It's a partnership forged in the crucible of survival. You watch as Malik gently strokes Zahara's neck, and the camel responds with a soft rumble, a sound unique to these incredible animals. This quirky tidbit about camels: they have a complex vocalization system, from deep rumbles and bleats to high-pitched squeals, which are used for communication within their herds or with their human companions. Historians still argue whether ancient nomads truly understood these nuances of camel communication as a language, or if their interpretations were based more on instinct and observation. But for Malik, Zahara's rumbling was a language he understood perfectly. The sun finally dips below the horizon, and the desert transforms. The air cools rapidly, and a million stars, brighter than any you've ever seen, begin to pepper the velvet sky. Malik begins to set up a modest camp, a small fire soon flickering, casting dancing shadows on the sand. Zahara kneels beside him, her long legs folding beneath her with a sigh, her eyes reflecting the starlight. She is not tethered. She stays by choice. Her presence is one of calm strength, a silent anchor in the immense solitude. You feel the profound quiet of the desert night settle around you, a peace that only such vast, empty spaces can offer. This is where their story begins, not with grand gestures, but with the quiet, shared rhythm of survival and an unspoken understanding between man and beast. You remain within the quiet desert, observing the subtle dance between Malik and Zahara as the days unfold into weeks, each one a testament to their enduring partnership. Zahara, as you quickly learn, was not born into servitude but into a life of purpose. Her early days were spent in a tightly knit herd, learning the ancient ways of the desert from her mother and the other experienced females. You watch a younger Zahara, all long, gangly legs and soft, curious eyes, absorbing the lessons of survival. She learned to discern the subtle shifts in the sand that hinted at hidden depressions or firmer ground, how to find the sparse, thorny shrubs that offered sustenance, and, most importantly, the rhythm of the wind. This mainstream historical fact reminds us that the domestication of camels was a pivotal development for ancient desert civilizations, enabling long-distance trade routes like the Silk Road and opening up vast, previously impassable territories. Camels weren't just captured. They were carefully bred and trained over generations to be resilient, patient, and capable of forming strong bonds with their human handlers. Imagine trying to explain to a modern delivery driver that their vehicle needs to be gently persuaded with a song to start its journey. That was a bit like early camel training. You observed the process of her training, a gentle yet firm hand guiding her. It wasn't about breaking her spirit, but about channeling her natural instincts. She learned to kneel on command, to accept the weight of packs on her strong humps, and to walk steadily for days on end, conserving energy. Malik, or perhaps his ancestors, would have used a combination of voice commands, subtle touches, and a deep understanding of camel behavior. This quirky tidbit about camel training. Some nomadic traditions believe that singing to a camel, particularly during long journeys, can calm them, improve their stamina, and strengthen their bond with their handler. Historians still argue whether such practices were purely cultural rituals or if they truly had a quantifiable effect on the animal's performance or temperament. But for Malik, the soft, low croon he sometimes emitted while walking alongside Zahara was a form of communication as vital as any spoken word. You see Zahara's patience develop, a virtue essential for desert travel. She learned to wait silently while Malik prepared camp, to endure the searing midday sun and the biting cold of desert nights without complaint. Her body was a marvel of adaptation. Eyelids that could squint against sandstorms, nostrils that could close tight against fine dust, and that incredible ability to store water, not just in her humps, a common misconception, as humps are fat, not water, but within her entire physiological system. She was, in essence, a living, breathing, incredibly efficient desert machine, yet with the soul of a sensitive companion. You feel the profound trust that grew between them, built on shared hardships and countless miles of silent travel. It was a bond that transcended mere utility, becoming something akin to family in the vast, unforgiving emptiness of the desert. With Zahara's training complete and her bond with Malik solidified, you now join them on their daily existence. The endless, mesmerizing rhythm of traversing the desert. You feel the soft, rhythmic sway as Zahara paces steadily, her wide, padded feet distributing her weight perfectly over the shifting sands, a masterful gait that seems to float effortlessly across the dunes. The sun climbs high, beating down with an intensity that would quickly overwhelm any lesser creature. Yet Zahara moves with an almost meditative grace. She's not just walking. She's performing an ancient dance with the desert itself. The silence is profound, broken only by the soft thump-thump of Zahara's feet on the sand, the whisper of the wind, and the occasional creak of the leather packs on her back. This mainstream historical fact about camel caravans is that they were incredibly efficient at moving goods across vast distances. A single camel could carry hundreds of pounds of goods, and a caravan could consist of hundreds, even thousands, of animals, creating veritable moving cities of trade across continents. Imagine a modern cargo ship, but alive, breathing, and powered by sheer endurance. Their slow, steady pace might seem inefficient by today's standards, but it was perfectly optimized for the unforgiving desert environment, conserving energy and minimizing water loss. Malik walks beside Zahara, sometimes leading, sometimes simply keeping pace, his eyes constantly scanning the horizon, reading the subtle signs of the desert. He watches the quality of the sand, the sparse vegetation, the direction of the wind, all clues in a language only he understands. He knows Zahara's every sigh, every shift of her weight, every twitch of her ear. This quirky tidbit about camels: they can communicate through subtle body language, such as your movements, tail flicks, and even specific ways of holding their heads, which experienced handlers can interpret as indicators of mood, fatigue, or even awareness of distant changes. Historians still argue whether such detailed interpretations of camel body language were purely intuitive, or if there was a more codified system passed down through generations of nomads. But for Malik, Zahara's unspoken signals were as clear as any spoken word, often clearer. You might notice how Zahara knows when to conserve her energy, instinctively slowing her pace on difficult inclines or when the sand is particularly soft. She can sense the faint shifts in air pressure that herald a change in wind direction, or the almost imperceptible changes in temperature that signal the approach of night. There's a subtle wisdom in her movements, a deep, ancient knowledge of the desert etched into her very being. Sometimes, she'll stop abruptly, her head lifted, nostrils flaring slightly, sniffing the air for a moment before resuming her pace. A silent message to Malik that something is amiss, or perhaps something interesting lies ahead. It's like having a living, breathing, sandproof intuition compass. Their daily journey is not just about reaching a destination. It's a continuous conversation, a ballet of survival performed with grace and profound understanding under the ceaseless desert sun. As you continue to observe Malik and Zahara's journey across the vast, undulating landscape, you begin to truly appreciate the depth of their connection, a communication that transcends mere words. It's an unspoken language, a silent dialogue honed by countless shared sunrises and starlit nights. You notice how Malik never truly tells Zahara what to do in the same way you might command a beast of burden. Instead, he suggests, through subtle shifts in his body, the rhythm of his footsteps beside her, or a low, almost imperceptible hum that seems to vibrate through the dry desert air. This mainstream historical fact about camel handling, particularly among nomadic groups, is that it often involves a deeply empathetic and intuitive approach rather than brute force. Handlers learn to interpret a camel's posture, ear flickers, and even the direction of its gaze to understand its needs, moods, and intentions. This reciprocal understanding is crucial for survival in harsh environments, as a stressed or unwilling camel can spell disaster. Imagine trying to navigate a dense fog with a friend who only responds to shouts. Now imagine doing it with someone who senses your every unspoken thought. That's the difference this intuitive bond made. You might see Malik subtly shifting his weight, leaning slightly in the direction he wishes Zahara to turn, and her massive body responds with barely a thought, a fluid pivot on the sand. Or he might simply hum a particular tune, a soft, guttural melody that seems to reassure Zahara, prompting her to slow her pace or indicate her readiness to rest. This quirky tidbit about camel communication. Some nomadic tribes believe that certain camel calls or even human songs can convey specific emotions or instructions to camels, much like how a shepherd's whistle can direct a dog. Historians still argue whether these specific sounds truly held universally recognized meanings among camels, or if it was more about the individual bond and learned associations between a particular handler and their animal. But for Malik and Zahara, it was a perfectly functional language. You realize that Zahara, in turn, communicates with Malik. She might subtly alter her stride if she senses a soft patch of sand ahead, prompting Malik to adjust his footing. Or she might let out a soft, inquiring gurgle, a question about the path, or a subtle warning of an approaching scent on the wind. There's a moment when Malik pauses, looking intently at the horizon, and Zahara, without being told, instinctively kneels, allowing him to easily adjust the packs on her back. There's no strain, no struggle, just a quiet, seamless cooperation born from years of shared existence. It's like a perfectly choreographed dance, where each partner anticipates the other's moves without a single spoken word. You feel the profound simplicity and efficiency of this ancient partnership, a testament to what deep understanding can achieve in the face of raw, challenging nature. This unspoken dialogue is not just about getting from one point to another. It's about navigating life itself, together. The desert, you quickly learn, is not just a vast emptiness. It's a living entity, full of subtle clues and hidden blessings. And no one, perhaps not even Malik, was as attuned to its profound secrets as Zahara. You observe her, her long neck stretched, her nostrils flaring, testing the air with an almost scientific precision. It's a specialized form of perception that often leads them, unerringly, to the most precious commodity in this arid world, water. This mainstream historical fact about camels is that their ability to detect distant water sources, even those buried beneath the sand or hidden in remote wadis, is legendary. While scientific explanations often point to their incredibly keen sense of smell and their ability to detect subtle changes in air humidity, the accuracy can still seem almost supernatural. Imagine having a living, breathing divining rod that also carries all your worldly possessions. It was a skill that literally meant the difference between life and death for desert travelers. You watch as Zahara suddenly deviates slightly from their established path. Malik, trusting her implicitly, follows without question. She moves with a heightened sense of purpose now, her pace steady but resolute. The ground appears no different to your eyes, just an endless expanse of sand and scattered rocks. But Zahara seems to see something that you cannot. Her ears twitch, picking up echoes of sounds carried on the wind that are imperceptible to human hearing. Perhaps the faint buzz of insects drawn to moisture, or the distant rustle of a small animal that has found a hidden spring. This quirky tidbit about camel behavior. Some nomadic stories recount how camels, when near a hidden water source, will often become agitated, sometimes even refusing to move forward until they are allowed to investigate, or will begin to stamp their feet in a particular spot. Historians still argue whether these specific behaviors were truly reliable indicators of water, or if they were combined with vast traditional knowledge of the landscape passed down through generations of nomads. But for Malik, Zahara's subtle signals were enough. After what feels like an age, but is probably just a few minutes of her deliberate detour, Zahara stops. She sniffs the ground, then with a powerful kick, begins to scrape away the top layer of sand with her front hoof. Malik quickly joins her using a small shovel, and there, slowly, miraculously, a small pool of clear, cool water begins to well up from the ground. It's an oasis, perhaps tiny and temporary, but an oasis nonetheless, brought forth by the wisdom of an animal. You feel the profound relief wash over you, the primal satisfaction of thirst quenched in an unforgiving land. It's a testament to Zahara's unparalleled connection to the desert, a living compass guiding them to life itself. This discovery, made countless times over her life, solidifies her irreplaceable role in Malik's solitary journey through the Whispering Dunes. The vastness of the desert, you soon discover, holds more than just hidden oases. It carries secrets on its unseen currents, invisible to human eyes but keenly felt by a creature like Zahara. You observe her, sometimes in the still heat of noon, sometimes under the cold gaze of the moon, pausing abruptly, her head held high, nostrils flaring, testing the air in a way that suggests a profound, almost mystical awareness. It's as if she can read the whispers of the wind, sensing approaching dangers or unforeseen opportunities long before Malik does. This mainstream historical fact about desert animals, particularly those with highly developed senses, is that they possess an incredible ability to detect subtle environmental changes that humans cannot. This includes sensing shifts in wind patterns that might precede a sandstorm, detecting the faint vibrations of distant movement, or even changes in atmospheric pressure that hint at rare desert rainfall far away. Imagine having a built-in, living barometer and radar system that's Zahara. You watch as Zahara stiffens, her ears swiveling, almost like delicate antennae. Malik, attuned to her every subtle cue, stops immediately, his hand going to the hilt of his curved dagger, his eyes scanning the horizon. There's nothing visible to you, just the endless, shimmering expanse. But Zahara is reacting to something. Perhaps it's the faint, barely perceptible scent of a rival nomadic group carried on a distant breeze, a scent that would alert her to potential conflict or even a chance encounter for trade. Or perhaps it's the low, subsonic rumble of a distant rockfall, indicating a change in the treacherous wadis ahead. This quirky tidbit about camels. Some ancient legends among desert dwellers claim that camels can sense the presence of evil spirits or unseen dangers that lurk in the desolate wilderness, becoming restless or refusing to move forward. Historians still argue whether such beliefs were purely superstitious, or if they were an anthropomorphic interpretation of the camel's superior sensory capabilities, a way to explain their uncanny ability to predict the unpredictable in a harsh environment. But for Malik, Zahara's warnings were real, and he trusted them implicitly. You experience a moment of silent tension, your heart quickening as Malik remains still, relying entirely on Zahara's unseen perception. She might let out a soft, low groan, a warning that is more felt than heard, or she might shift her weight nervously, subtly indicating a direction of potential threat. It's like having a living, breathing alarm system, one wired directly into the very fabric of the desert. This uncanny ability often allows Malik to take evasive action, to alter their course, or to prepare for a sudden shift in the unforgiving desert's temperament. Zahara isn't just carrying him. She's protecting him, guiding him through a world of invisible threats and hidden chances. This profound, unspoken oracle, a creature of immense sensitivity, becomes their silent guardian, reading the secrets whispered on the wind. The desert, you've realized, holds not only the present dangers and hidden oases, but also the echoes of ancient civilizations, sometimes buried just beneath the shifting sands. And it was Zahara, with her uncanny senses, who often stumbled upon these forgotten whispers of the past. You watch one shimmering afternoon, as the sun beats down relentlessly, creating dancing mirages on the distant horizon. Malik is walking beside Zahara, his eyes narrowed against the glare, when Zahara suddenly stiffens, her long neck extending, her nose twitching rapidly. She lets out a soft, almost questioning grunt, then begins to veer sharply to the left. Malik, recognizing this particular cue, follows, his curiosity piqued. Zahara leads him over a small, unassuming dune, her pace quickening slightly. She stops abruptly, stamping her foot once, then twice, on a seemingly ordinary patch of sand. Malik kneels, running his hand over the warm grains, feeling for any anomaly. This mainstream historical fact reminds us that many ancient trade routes and settlements were established in arid regions, and their remains can be preserved remarkably well under dry desert conditions for millennia. Accidental discoveries by nomads or their animals have often led to the unearthing of significant archaeological sites, providing invaluable insights into forgotten cultures. Imagine stumbling upon a lost city just by following your very determined pet. Malik begins to dig with his small, sturdy digging tool, and soon his efforts are rewarded. Not with water this time, but with the edge of something solid, something man-made. As he uncovers more, you see it. A beautifully crafted, though sand-worn, pottery shard, intricately painted with symbols you don't recognize. He brushes the sand away, and more pieces emerge, fragments of ancient tools, pieces of highly polished stone, and even a few oddly shaped, dark glass beads. This isn't just a random find. It's a small glimpse into a forgotten world. The quirky tidbit here is that many nomadic oral traditions contain stories of animals leading their human companions to hidden treasures, ancient burial sites, or even caches of lost knowledge. While often romanticized, these tales likely stem from real instances where animals' superior senses detected anomalies in the landscape that humans missed. Historians still argue whether such finds were truly purely accidental, or if nomads possessed a deeper, intuitive knowledge of specific landscape features that hinted at buried pasts, passed down through generations. But for Malik, guided by Zahara, it felt like fate. You observe the profound silence as Malik sifts through the sand, each new artifact brought forth by Zahara's intuition. It's like a tiny archaeological dig unfolding before your eyes, orchestrated by a camel. This isn't just about survival anymore. It's about connecting with the deep history of the desert itself. Zahara stands patiently beside him, occasionally nudging a loose rock with her nose, almost as if urging him on, knowing there's more to uncover. Her sensitivity to the subtle shifts in the earth, perhaps sensing ancient disturbances or unusual mineral compositions, turned her into a living divining rod for the past. These weren't glittering treasures, but to a nomad who understood the desert's vast memory, they were invaluable windows into a long-lost time. The desert, despite its vastness, can turn from a serene expanse into a terrifying maelstrom in mere moments. And it was during one such harrowing transformation that Zahara's unwavering loyalty and incredible resilience truly shone, performing a heroic act that etched her deeper into Malik's heart. You feel the sudden, oppressive stillness that descends just before the storm. The air grows heavy, the horizon darkens to a bruised purple, and then, without warning, the wind whips up, first as a gentle sigh, then a fierce howl. A sandstorm. This mainstream historical fact about desert travel is that sandstorms are incredibly dangerous, reducing visibility to zero, causing disorientation, and carrying abrasive sand that can strip skin and damage equipment. Getting caught in one without shelter often meant certain death for ancient travelers. Imagine trying to navigate a blizzard, but instead of snow, it's millions of tiny, sharp projectiles. Malik immediately attempts to prepare. He tries to quickly secure the few precious packs and cover himself with thick cloth, but the wind is already tearing at everything. Zahara, sensing the impending chaos, lowers herself to the ground instinctively, curling her long neck and tucking her head close to her body, presenting the smallest possible profile to the raging tempest. You watch as Malik, caught unprepared by the storm's sudden ferocity, stumbles, losing his footing amidst the blinding, swirling sand. He cries out, a desperate sound swallowed by the wind. This quirky tidbit about camels in sandstorms. Bedouin lore often speaks of camels instinctively knowing how to position themselves in a storm, facing away from the strongest winds and using their bodies as a shield for their riders. Historians still argue whether this is a purely learned behavior or an innate survival instinct, but countless accounts testify to camels saving lives in such conditions. For Malik, Zahara's body became his only hope. Blinded and disoriented, Malik fumbles, losing his sense of direction. He could easily be swept away, buried, or simply lose his way in the overwhelming whiteout. But Zahara, despite the fury of the storm lashing at her, lets out a series of deep, insistent rumbles. You see Malik, guided by the sound, blindly crawl towards her immense form. Zahara subtly shifts, providing a protective leeward side, creating a small, breathing pocket of relative calm against the onslaught. He huddles against her warm flank, buried deep in her thick fur, feeling the vibration of her steadfast heart against his ear as the world outside becomes a deafening roar of sand and wind. It's like finding an unshakable mountain in the midst of a violent ocean. For hours, the storm rages, but Zahara remains a silent, living fortress. Her sheer mass and unwavering stance protect Malik from the worst of the elements, a testament to her immense physical strength and her profound loyalty. When the storm finally begins to abate, leaving the desert strangely still and reshaped, Malik slowly emerges, shaken but alive, thanks entirely to the unwavering protection of his magnificent camel. The bond between Malik and Zahara, forged in shared journeys and near-fatal sandstorms, now faced its truest test, the relentless erosion of time and circumstance. You observe a shift in their rhythm, a subtle change that hints at deeper struggles. The desert, unforgiving in its beauty, occasionally withheld its bounty, bringing periods of scarcity. The usual trade routes might dry up, or rival nomads might dominate the watering holes, forcing Malik and Zahara onto more perilous, less traveled paths. This mainstream historical fact about nomadic life is that it was inherently precarious. Drought, shifting political landscapes, and competition for resources were constant threats. Periods of hardship, where water was scarce and grazing even scarcer, pushed both humans and their animals to the very limits of their endurance. Imagine trying to live a sustainable life where your entire livelihood depends on unpredictable weather and the whims of distant powers. You see the toll it takes. Zahara, usually so robust, begins to show signs of strain. Her humps, once firm and rounded, might appear slightly diminished. Her gait, though still steady, carries a hint of weariness. Malik, too, looks more gaunt, his eyes holding a deeper shadow of worry. During these difficult times, their usual unspoken dialogue becomes even more vital. He conserves water for Zahara, offering her the precious liquid from his own limited supply before he drinks himself. He finds the driest, most stubborn shrubs for her to graze on, knowing her survival means his own. This quirky tidbit about camel resilience. During periods of extreme drought, camels are known to graze on plants that are otherwise toxic to other livestock, drawing what little moisture and nutrients they can from the most desolate vegetation. Their unique digestive system allows them to process such harsh forage. Historians still argue whether such extreme survival strategies significantly impacted a camel's long-term health, or if their bodies simply recovered fully once conditions improved. But for Malik, he witnessed Zahara's grit firsthand. You feel the profound weight of their mutual reliance during these lean periods. There are moments when Zahara, perhaps sensing Malik's despair, will lean her great head against him, a comforting gesture of silent reassurance. It's like a quiet conversation of courage between two beings facing down immense odds. This isn't just about survival of the fittest, it's about the survival of the loyal. The bond becomes less about utility and more about shared suffering and unwavering trust. The hardships, paradoxically, don't break them. They refine their connection, revealing its unbreakable core. Their loyalty, tested by the unforgiving desert, emerges not only intact but deepened, a silent testament to enduring partnership in the face of relentless adversity. Even during the most challenging periods, the desert held unexpected opportunities, and Zahara, with her profound connection to the land, often led Malik not just to water, but to healing. You witness a moment of quiet crisis. Malik, weakened by a lingering illness or a minor injury, struggles to maintain their pace. His usual stride falters, and his face, already etched with lines from the sun, shows signs of deeper fatigue. This mainstream historical fact reminds us that access to medicine was severely limited in ancient desert nomadic life. People relied heavily on traditional knowledge of plants, minerals, and animal products for healing. A simple infection or a prolonged fever could easily prove fatal far from any established settlement. Imagine having a pharmacy where all the medicines are hidden, growing wild, and require an expert eye to find. You watch as Zahara senses Malik's distress. She doesn't push ahead. Instead, she slows her pace, often stopping and looking back at him with an almost concerned expression in her large, dark eyes. Then, with a series of soft grunts, she begins to deviate from their path, moving towards a cluster of rocky outcrops or a patch of seemingly barren ground that Malik might have otherwise passed by. She nudges specific plants with her nose, tearing off a leaf here or pawing gently at the base of a thorny bush there. This quirky tidbit about desert flora. Many seemingly unassuming desert plants possess potent medicinal properties, used for centuries by indigenous peoples to treat ailments ranging from fever to inflammation. Some animals, too, instinctively seek out certain plants when ill. Historians still argue whether animals truly possess an innate knowledge of medicinal plants, or if it's a learned behavior observed by their human companions who then incorporated it into their own traditional medicine. But for Malik, Zahara's actions were a clear directive. You observe Malik, trusting Zahara's guidance implicitly, collecting the leaves or roots she indicates. He might crush them, mix them with a small amount of water from his gourd, or even boil them over a tiny fire in a clay pot. The remedies are simple, bitter perhaps, but often effective. You might see him carefully applying a poultice to a wound, or drinking a foul-smelling concoction. His belief in Zahara's instinct unwavering. It's like having a living, breathing apothecary in the middle of nowhere. Slowly, over days, you see Malik's strength return, his cough subside, or the swelling in his leg diminish. Zahara remains by his side, a silent nurse, occasionally nudging him with her head, a soft encouragement. Her profound understanding of the desert's hidden pharmacy turned hardship into healing, further cementing her invaluable role as a true partner in survival, a keeper of forgotten desert wisdom. As Malik and Zahara's journey continued, their path often intersected with the lifeblood of the ancient world, the bustling desert trade hubs. You find yourself immersed in a cacophony of sights and sounds, a stark contrast to the quiet solitude of the dunes. Here, amidst the clamor of a sprawling desert market, the true value of a creature like Zahara and the nomad's deep understanding of her becomes brilliantly clear. This mainstream historical fact is that major desert trade hubs were vital economic and cultural crossroads, connecting distant civilizations. Goods like spices, textiles, precious metals, and even ideas flowed through these bustling centers, largely transported by camel caravans. These weren't just places to buy and sell. They were vibrant melting pots of different peoples, languages, and customs. Imagine a medieval mall mixed with an international airport, powered by camels. You watch as Malik, with Zahara patiently kneeling beside him, navigates the swirling crowds. Merchants from faraway lands, their faces tanned and robes of various colors, haggle over prices. The air is thick with the scent of exotic spices, dried fruits, and the earthy smell of unwashed wool. Zahara, despite the overwhelming sensory input, remains remarkably calm. Her training, her inherent patience, and her trust in Malik allow her to endure the chaos. She is not easily startled by the loud shouts of vendors, the braying of other animals, or the incessant chatter of 1,000 tongues. This quirky tidbit about camel behavior in markets. Experienced caravan camels are known to develop a sort of market composure, learning to ignore the distractions and conserve energy amidst the hubbub. Some even seem to recognize specific stalls or routes within a familiar market, anticipating where their goods will be unloaded. Historians still argue whether this is simply excellent training, or if camels possess a higher degree of cognitive mapping than previously thought, allowing them to navigate complex environments. But for Malik, Zahara's steadiness was a blessing. You might see other camel drivers struggling with unruly animals, their faces flushed with frustration. But Malik handles Zahara with a quiet confidence, a mere touch to her flank, a low hum, guiding her through the throng. Her massive presence commands respect, clearing a path through the crowded lanes. She stands patiently while Malik barters for supplies, perhaps exchanging a few precious spices for fresh water or much-needed provisions. It's like having a majestic, serene anchor in a sea of frenetic activity. Zahara is not just transporting goods. She is a symbol of reliable transport, a living testament to the mastery of desert travel. Her stoic demeanor amidst the whirlwind of commerce highlights the profound bond and mutual understanding cultivated over countless silent journeys, making her an invaluable asset in the noisy, vibrant heart of the desert economy. As Zahara and Malik continued their journeys, leaving countless imprints on the vast canvas of the desert, you begin to see how Zahara's unique footprint became more than just a mark in the sand. It transformed into a symbol, a silent testament to her enduring spirit and the remarkable journey she undertook. You notice that after a long day of travel, the imprints left by Zahara's wide, soft feet are distinct, unlike those of any other creature. They are clear, almost perfectly defined, even on loosely packed sand, a testament to her unique adaptation for desert traversal. This mainstream historical fact about desert travel is that footprints, both human and animal, were often the only indicators of passage in vast, featureless landscapes. Nomads, trackers, and even ancient military units would learn to read these signs, discerning not just the type of animal, but its age, condition, and even how recently it had passed. Imagine a detective relying on a single perfect clue left in the dirt. For Malik, Zahara's footprints were like a familiar, comforting signature. You follow the lines of her tracks as they stretch across a fresh dune, flowing gracefully with the contours of the landscape, like an ephemeral drawing etched by the wind itself. There's a quiet majesty in these simple imprints, a sense of purpose and direction in a world that often seems chaotic. This quirky tidbit about camel tracks. Some nomadic tribes have traditional sayings or poems that metaphorically describe the beauty and rhythm of a camel's gait reflected in its footprints, often associating them with perseverance and steady progress. Historians still argue whether such poetic interpretations truly influenced practical navigation, or if they were merely cultural expressions of appreciation for the animal. But for Malik, tracing Zahara's prints always evoked a quiet sense of pride and connection. You might notice how her tracks seemed to tell a story in themselves. A slight deviation here where she sensed a hidden rock, a deeper impression there where she carried an especially heavy load. Each print is a tiny narrative of effort and endurance. Sometimes, after a rare desert shower, her tracks would leave perfect indentations in the damp sand, holding tiny pools of water that briefly reflected the sky, like a string of liquid mirrors guiding the way. It's like a silent diary written on the ground, revealing her steady progress through the quiet ages. The simple, rhythmic repetition of her steps across the endless expanse of the desert became a powerful symbol not only of their shared journey, but of the enduring human spirit in harmony with the wild. Her footprints were not just a path. They were a legacy, a testament to her unwavering purpose, etched into the very memory of the dunes. The endless cycle of desert journeys, of sun-drenched days and star-filled nights, eventually brought with it the gentle yet inevitable march of time. You begin to notice the subtle signs in Zahara, the way she moves, the faint softening around her eyes. She is no longer the tireless beast of burden, but a venerable elder, her years of faithful service etched into every line of her weathered hide. Malik, too, bears the marks of time, his movements perhaps a little slower, his back a little more stooped. This mainstream historical fact about working animals in ancient times is that their lifespan, particularly those used for arduous labor, was often shorter than their natural potential due to wear and tear, injury, or disease. However, highly valued animals, like a crucial camel, would be cared for meticulously and allowed to live out their natural lives once their working days were done, becoming respected members of the family or community. Imagine how cherished an animal would be if your very survival depended on it. You see Malik's deep respect for Zahara. He no longer pushes her as hard, opting for shorter journeys, longer rests, and seeking out the gentlest paths. Her burdens are lighter, her pace dictated by her comfort. He might spend more time grooming her, brushing the sand from her thick fur, his hands moving with a tenderness born of decades of shared life. This isn't a chore, it's an act of profound gratitude. This quirky tidbit about animal aging in nomadic cultures. Some desert tribes believe that an aging camel, having absorbed so much of the desert's wisdom and having seen so many horizons, possessed a serene, almost spiritual aura. They were thought to embody the perseverance of their lineage. Historians still argue whether such spiritual reverence genuinely altered the practical treatment of old animals, or if it was simply a poetic reflection of their irreplaceable value in a harsh environment. But for Malik, Zahara was more than just an animal. She was a living testament to their shared history. You feel the quiet melancholy that accompanies this gentle winding down. There are days when Zahara might stumble slightly or take longer to rise. Malik is always there, his hands steady on her flank, his voice a soft, encouraging rumble. It's like watching an old couple intimately attuned to each other's fading strengths, supporting each other through the final chapters of their journey. The vastness of the desert, which once tested their limits, now becomes a peaceful, familiar expanse for Zahara's twilight years. Her presence continues to be a comfort, a silent anchor in Malik's solitary existence, even as the shadow of their eventual parting begins to lengthen across the dunes. The sun, as it has done for countless millennia, continued its slow, deliberate arc across the desert sky, but for Malik, a profound absence began to settle in. You feel the deep quiet that descends upon the camp, a silence far more profound than the usual stillness of the dunes. Zahara, his steadfast companion, his living compass, his protector, had finally, peacefully, succumbed to the gentle pull of age. This mainstream historical fact reminds us that the death of a working animal, especially one as integral to survival as a camel, was not just an emotional loss but a significant practical challenge for ancient nomads. It often meant altering trade routes, relying on remaining animals more heavily, or even temporary halts to their journeys. Imagine losing your most reliable vehicle, your closest friend, and your means of livelihood all at once. You observe Malik in the days that follow, his movements slow and heavy. He continues his routine, but the familiar rhythm is broken. The place where Zahara would kneel each night remains empty, a poignant hollow in the sand. He walks, but his stride lacks its usual purpose, his gaze often drifting to the horizon, as if expecting her familiar silhouette to reappear. The vast desert, which they had navigated as one, now feels impossibly wide, a silent, echoing void. This quirky tidbit about nomadic morning rituals. Some desert tribes have traditions of leaving a beloved camel's body untouched by scavengers for a time, allowing it to return to the earth naturally, believing its spirit will then merge with the desert's essence, guiding future travelers. Historians still argue whether such practices were purely spiritual, or if they also served practical purposes, like preserving tribal lands or marking significant spots. But for Malik, the desert had claimed its own, and he honored her in silent reverence. You might see him sitting by the fire at night, not speaking, just gazing into the flickering flames, perhaps recalling a moment when Zahara led him to water, saved him from a storm, or helped him unearth a shard of ancient history. The quiet whispers of the wind now carry not just the desert's secrets, but the profound echo of a life well lived, a partnership unbroken even by death. The journey continues, but it is fundamentally changed, marked by the powerful memory of the camel who had become more than an animal, a true friend, a silent guardian, a living legend. Her story, carried by the wind and whispered among the dunes, would now begin its own slow journey through the annals of nomadic lore, a testament to her unique spirit. Though Zahara's physical presence had faded into the vastness of the desert, her legacy, and the remarkable story of her life with Malik, began to weave itself into the very fabric of nomadic tradition. You now see her, not just as a single camel, but as a timeless spirit, her lessons echoing across the dunes. Her unique capabilities, her uncanny ability to find water, to sense unseen dangers, to locate forgotten remnants of the past, were no longer just Malik's experiences. They became cherished tales, passed down from elder to child around crackling desert fires, a vital part of the oral history that sustained these resilient people. This mainstream historical fact reminds us that oral traditions were the primary means of knowledge transmission in many ancient and nomadic cultures. Stories of wise animals, heroic journeys, and clever solutions to survival challenges served not only to entertain, but also to educate future generations about navigating their environment, understanding their history, and upholding their values. Imagine a vast, living library where every story is a lesson, and every character a guide. You hear her story whispered among caravans pausing under the vast, star-strewn sky. A father might point to a distant ripple in the sand and say, "Just like Zahara could see water where there was none." A mother might soothe a frightened child during a sudden wind shift, murmuring, "Be calm," like the great Zahara in the storm. This quirky tidbit about animal lore, many nomadic societies developed elaborate systems of animal symbolism, where certain creatures represented specific virtues or embodied particular aspects of the natural world. Zahara, in this context, would have become a powerful symbol of endurance, wisdom, and profound loyalty. Historians still argue whether such animal legends were born from individual experiences or were collective anthropomorphic interpretations of animals' natural abilities. But for the desert folk, Zahara was undeniably a legend. You feel the quiet pride in Malik's eyes as he listens to his companion's deeds recounted by others, their faces lit by the dancing firelight. He knew the true, unwavering heart behind the legend. Zahara's spirit, intertwined with the very essence of the desert, continued to guide and inspire. Her journey became a testament to the extraordinary partnership possible between humans and animals, a bond forged not just by necessity, but by deep mutual respect and understanding. She became the silent, enduring spirit of the desert itself, her wisdom carried on every breath of the wind, her legacy as vast and eternal as the dunes she once traversed. As the last echoes of Zahara's story fade into the vast silence, imagine the soft desert breeze gently carrying your thoughts. Feel the warmth of the sand beneath you, still holding the faint memory of a camel's patient stride. Let the endless, star-strewn sky stretch above you, a blanket of peace, promising dreams as boundless as the horizon. Allow the rhythm of the wind, the quiet hum of ancient tales, to lull you deeper into comfort. The wisdom of the desert, patient and profound, is here to guide you to a peaceful rest. Close your eyes, breathe slowly, and let the gentle current of sleep wash over you, knowing that even the greatest journeys begin and end in quiet stillness.